sending that to?
We're not sending it to anybody. We're gonna record for posterity because you're gonna tell some stories, I think. So we should start at the beginning.
Start at the beginning.
Yeah.
When I first met Jack?
I mean, that's interesting, yeah.
I was in line to go to the bathroom at a party in College Park. I was going to brush my teeth, or I was going to use their toothpaste to swish around my teeth.
Gross.
Yeah.
But you were at a party, so...
I was at a party, and he was in line, too.
To go to poop?
Well, or to pee-pee.
Okay. And it was a Grateful Dead party, I've heard?
Well, he had a lot of Grateful Dead buttons on his
Oh, so it
blue
wasn't a
jean
Grateful
jacket.
Dead themed party?
Not really.
It was just a party.
Uh-huh.
He was just a very deadhead.
Yeah. That tile's going to slide off and break.
Okay. So, why were you there? Like,
I was there
you're
because...
You're older.
Because,
Like, what are you doing at a college party with a...
well, that's what I said. Linda, Barry invited us to Scott, his brother. Scott was still in college.
Scott Gloffelty.
Uh-huh, Scott Gloffelty. And Linda Reeves, I was in her Volvo. She was driving. And she said, we're going to that party now. And I said, no, we're not. We don't go to parties with college guys. She said, I'm going. And if you want to walk home or walk,
You could, yeah.
if you're with me, we're going to that party. And I was like, all right. And so there was Jack, and I thought he was nice. And he kissed me goodnight, and I was like, okay,
Oh, wow.
that's all. The next morning, Linda and I were at a restaurant. She doesn't remember this, but I do. Because she wound up dancing around with this guy, Phil, who was a friend of Jack's. Really good looking and really tall. And I wound up with Jack, and Jack asked me what my phone number was. And I was living with Nancy at the time, so my number was 301-746-5337. And I told him. And he didn't write it down. And I said, don't you have to write it down? He said, no, I can remember phone numbers. And I think you might have heard the story before.
Maybe. Keep going.
And he called me 2 weeks later, and I said, did you write my number down? No, I remembered it. I was like, and he invited me to go to a Grateful Dead concert. I decided to go with him.
Oh, my.
Really, I like the Dead, but also because he could remember my phone number. I figured he had brain cells left. And I went.
I figured he had brain cells left.
Right.
Good
And
times.
so...
I mean, what do you think now, at this point?
I think he has some, but I think they're starting to get a little bit taxed.
Yeah, okay.
He says his brain's a sieve. And that's not exactly right.
Doesn't
but
a sieve have holes in it?
it has some holes, yeah.
Oh, jeez.
But he tries real hard.
But he tries real hard.
Yep.
Okay, so,
He's a good caregiver.
oh, okay.
He pays attention to details that I don't pay attention to.
Like what?
Like
walking away without the...
Yeah, stretching my wound vac tube.
It's the new reality.
Yeah.
Opa's adjusted to the new reality.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are all... When's the last time you took out a CD out of this thing?
Well, yeah, never.
Yeah, so these have to go somewhere else and away from this functional drawer where you actually keep functional things into a place where you don't ever look at them. We'll find a
Maybe I
box.
should look at them.
Maybe you should look at them. Alright, so what's your first memory?
I think my first memory is having a bath in one of those bassinet things that they had in the 50s, which was plastic, and it was a triangle shape, and your bottom fit right into the triangle. And they had to pour water into it.
Oh, that's very Old West.
Yeah, and that's the way I think that's my first memory of how that felt.
You think that's your first memory?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not to be, because I think my first memory is remembering the cat throwing up underneath
The table in that with the green
Bear
rug.
Creek. Yeah.
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 And you were crawling around under there, and you saw a pile of cat throw up.
Yeah. And then part of me is thinking, like, do I remember this, or is this just a story? But I don't know.
Well, it's not a story I would have told over and over again. It's not that exciting.
Yeah, it isn't exciting at all.
There's no
Have you ever
beginning,
used
middle, or
this
end.
little keyframe thing?
What is it?
Well, it looks like it's a gift from Brookstone, where you would like put digital pictures on this. And hold
Oh.
it as a key. Let's try to see if this works.
Anita and Gary gave that to us, and we never knew how to do it.
Okay, so what house was that in where you got the Old West style bath?
That was at Woodcress Road in Whippany.
So that house is your first memory too?
Yeah.
Okay.
the
So
gr-
what else do you remember from that house?
The gray rug. The gray walls.
What did it smell like?
Oh, I don't know if it had a smell.
It didn't have a smell.
No.
Okay. What about who was there? Who's the regular cast of characters?
Ted and Eleanor and me, because there was no brother yet.
No brother yet. Okay. So how long did you stay at that house?
Till I was 7. But when I was about 5, I was pushing the Hoover around, and the Hoover sucked up the cord that was powering the Hoover, and my mother was like freaking out because she thought it was the end of her vacuum cleaner.
Right.
I remember that.
You were 7 at that point?
About 5 or 6.
Oh, okay. So that's like as old as Lucy, a little bit younger maybe than Lucy is right now. And then you made your first big move.
Yeah, my dad designed a house, and then these guys built it.
Okay. Your dad designed a house and these guys built it.
Yeah, he put into the plans everything my mother needed for a house, and
You'd think that'd be the kind of thing that they would never leave, but then they did.
well, he lost his job because the companies would not get the contracts, and he would lose his job then.
Oh, so he lost his dream house that he built for his wife
Right,
because he lost his job?
right, and he got a job in Bethesda, Maryland, and we had no connection to Maryland, but we moved there. And wait a minute, though. I skipped a house.
Okay, yeah, let's hear this.
Yeah, we moved. Yeah.
Where's your iPad at?
I don't know. I had it just the other day, and yesterday. Oh, Jack was showing Cameron Lucy's in there. Yeah.
Okay, so go back to the house you skipped.
Oh, so my father designed the house on Cross Road in Mars Plains, and we lived there, and it was a great life. They had curbs. The curbs were made out of Belgian block, really beautiful, and there was mica in some of the blocks, and it looked like diamonds. And I just thought we were so rich. And I had 2 good friends across the road from me, Mimi and Susan, and we played every day. And my brother even remembers making Indian villages.
Oh wait, when did he appear? We skipped that part too.
Oh yeah, he appeared. I took it really well. I was 2.5 when my mother brought him home.
Oh, so you had 5 years living at that house. Does
Yeah.
he remember that house? I wonder.
I wonder. I'll have to talk to him about it. And he remembers. He remembers Grandpa's houses, and I'm just obsessed with Grandpa's houses. I want to buy those houses now.
I remember going on a little tour around and seeing the shrubs and stuff that he would trim outside
Yeah.
his house in Jersey.
Right.
We took that little tangent out there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
okay, so we're getting all over the place. So I think you should talk more about that first house.
Oh,
That he
Woodcress
built.
Road.
Yeah.
Woodcress Road was the first house. I was born. They bought that house after they got married in like 1950. And then I was born in 52. And I remember the brick front steps. They were made of brick. And I remember wearing a pair of shorts. I was 5. My mother, set these clothes out for me, and I put them on. And I thought when I stepped out on the brick front steps that I was too fat to wear these shorts. Which is, my mother never said the word fat. She never said I was fat. But I just felt fat. And
America had already conditioned you?
yeah, I was already like, in this thing like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't feel comfortable in these shorts. They were red. And I told my mom that I didn't like those shorts. And she said, yeah, there's nothing wrong with those shorts. And I don't even think I told her why I didn't like them or why I was uncomfortable. I remember wanting to take them off, but I don't know if I did or not. But I had a friend across the street. His name was Gary. Gary is Savage.
Gary was Savage?
Yes, Savage.
Yes, Savage.
Yes, Savage.
No, Savage.
No, Savage.
Gary, no, Savage.
Yeah. And his poor dad, Joe, had worked on the railroad, and the switchman made a mistake on and he was working on a track, and the train didn't go off on the track it was supposed to, and it hit Mr. Yasavage, and he lost both his legs. So he was in a wheelchair, and he was very, very bitter and very angry.
So we're still at
Woodcress Road.
Woodcress Road in New Jersey.
In Whippany, yeah. Whippany was a town that was near Parsippany, so it's Whippany and Parsippany.
Do they have like an intense rivalry?
No, they were both unincorporated towns in New Jersey. Not that I knew that at the time. I read it recently.
Okay. So
Did I ever tell you the story about the turtle?
No, go. Starting now.
Oh, God. There was a big fence around the pool. He had a pool in the backyard.
This is the guy with no legs?
Yeah, Mr. Yasavage had it built, I think, so that he could develop his upper body, because he could get around, using his arms. And so I was introduced to the idea of somebody who was handicapped early on, but he was angry handicapped. And they built I think I must have gone over there one time and gone in the pool with Gary. My mother was upset because I couldn't swim. And she told me I was not allowed to go down this path. They had like a paved path from the back door down to the pool enclosure. It looked like a fort. It was like wooden. It was pieces of wood, and you couldn't sneak in there. And so one day, they were cleaning the pool. They emptied it. They were cleaning it, and Mr. Yasavage said, "Come on in, Carolyn. Come on in here." And I said, "No." And he said, "No, come on in. Don't be a chicken." And I was like, "I'm not a chicken." He said, "Come on in here. I know you're not allowed, right? Your mommy told you not to go in there." And I said, "Yep, she did say that. Yeah, I'm not allowed to go in there." He said, "Come on." And Gary had found a turtle in the bottom of the pool. The pool was blue, and there was this box turtle, really nice turtle. And
so he's peer. Is it the dad is peer pressuring you?
Yeah,
So
he
he's
was.
not really your peer.
He's making fun of my parents.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh my gosh, am I going to listen to this?" So I stood right by the door. I compromised. I didn't go in. He said, "Gary, give me that turtle." And so Gary got out of the pool and he brought the turtle over to Mr. Savage. Mr. Savage was in his wheelchair, and he took the turtle. Oh, it was so awful. And he threw it into the empty pool.
What?
Yeah.
Empty pool.
Yeah, it was empty. Yeah.
So they killed the turtle.
Basically, I think he cracked his shell, yeah.
The thing is, though, that like maybe because of the shell, it sucked in and it survived.
Maybe.
Do we know?
Maybe.
We don't
Maybe the
remember,
shell. I don't remember it being dead. But I remember crying because it was so mean and so cruel. And I ran home.
So this is your idea of disabled people from now on?
Well, I didn't think that about, but I mean, I didn't want to think that about him, but. And then we had a bread delivery man that came every week. The Dugan man.
Okay.
He came and everybody bought their bread from him. So Mrs. Yasavage, and my mother too, would buy white bread.
Okay.
And her treat to us was, she said, "Come on, Carolyn and Gary, come on." And we'd go over to their house and we'd go in the kitchen. She'd take a piece of white bread and spread butter on it. And then she'd sprinkle sugar all over it. So when you bit into it, oh, it was crunchy. And we were like, yeah, that's exciting. And at one point, I was standing in the kitchen with the piece of bread, and Gary took his into the bathroom, and she was sitting on the toilet seat with her pants on, eating. She ate it. And I was like, ooh, she's eating when she's sitting on the toilet. That grossed me out. I remember that. But I must have been 6 because we moved when I was 7.
Okay. So, you and Bruce are both fully formed, like little kids, and we're back to the part now where you skipped a house.
Yeah, so then my father, I guess we needed a bigger house because Bruce and I were sharing a bedroom. My father designed this house. I still have the plans for the house.
Wait, we skipped a house in between, didn't we?
No,
Okay.
This is the Woodcress Road house. Right now we live on Woodcress Road in Whippany. But, we needed a bigger house. And so he designed a split level with hip roof. And my brother now he says he doesn't like hip roofs. But they designed, it was very in the 50s to do a split level. Oh, it doesn't work?
Doesn't work.
You threw it away?
Yeah, it doesn't work. It's garbage. It's sad, but true.
It is sad. So, he designed the house over in Marsh Plains, which is not very far away from Whippany. And we had a great neighborhood. Lots of kids lived in this neighborhood. We rode our bikes all day long. And we used chalk on the road, and we played hopscotch, and we played Indian Village, and we would get off the bus and run home and get our books, and we would sit around under trees and read books with Susan, Mimi, and I.
So, well, that's weird too. That then your mom was calling herself Mimi.
My mom. What?
It's weird that you then were calling yourself, or she was calling herself Mimi, and you had a childhood friend named Mimi.
Well, she really wasn't named Mimi. Her name was Mireille, and you spelled it Mireille. And in French, the word for bee is abeille, and it's Ille. And nobody could pronounce Mireille.
Oh, of course, yeah. Notre Dame.
So people said Mihai. They called her Mihai, which is ugly, and I always thought it was ugly. I would not call her Mihai. And
It's ugly.
but Mimi is cuter than Mihai.
And it also seems very French.
Right.
So
And
you this is a time when kids actually went outside and played in the
all day. And we each family had a different bell. I still have ours. Ours was a cowbell. And when you would hear the cowbell wherever you were, you knew it was time to go home for dinner.
It's demeaning.
No, it's not. The lady down the road, she was from the South, and her 2 kids were named, she was Mrs. Emmety, and she was beautiful. And her kids were named Mike and Bubba.
Oh boy.
And so they didn't have a bell. They didn't know that in our neighborhood you had a bell. And she would just hang out the front door and yell, Mike,
Mac.
Bubba, Mike, Bubba.
Oh boy.
And there was another boy down the road, and his name was Bradley, but they said Bradley.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Can't
they
get away
did.
with that, Bradley.
Bradley.
Like his parents were being lazy.
He was really named Bradley.
I mean, seriously, like, please, people.
Yeah.
Come on, people.
I know.
Come on, people.
It was
Like,
lazy.
the Bradleys are a real fucking layabout. How, like, you just couldn't. You're named the Bradleys, and they came around with the paper, like, all right, Mr. and Mrs. Bradley, what would you like to name your son? And they're like, Bradley.
But Bradley.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it is
It's
terrible.
unacceptable.
All right, so
And there was a girl on the next road over named Scotty Wallace, and I loved her name, and I loved the fact that she was named Scotty Wallace.
Scotty Too Hottie.
And my next door neighbor was a girl named Wendy who was in a wheelchair, and she had been premature, so she was put in an incubator, and they gave her too much oxygen, and poor Wendy couldn't walk, and she was blind.
Oh no.
Yeah. And her older brother was named Mark, and we had crushes on him. We called him Cram, which is Mark backwards. And then we called him Cranberry.
Cranberry?
Cranberry, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, we called him Cranberry Jelly. And
Okay.
I wonder what happened to Mark Johnson.
I wonder what happened to Cranberry.
Yeah, Cranberry. Yep. We must have had crushes on him because we never left him alone. And he really, I don't know that he probably thought we were pains in the neck.
Were you?
Probably, yeah.
I mean, is it possible?
Yeah. And another thing we did a lot, we liked to draw, all three, Susan, Mimi, and I. And Mimi's older sister was named Janie, and her little sister was named Martine. And Janie loved to draw fashion girls.
Okay. I'm listening. Go ahead. Sorry.
We're listening to Jay-Z now?
No, we're not listening to Jay-Z. I'm testing these headphones and they do not work.
Oh.
So I am trashing them. Okay, sorry.
All right, it's right.
Little miniature figures. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we made fashion girls, and we cut out the girl, and we made we designed clothing for them. And we made paper dolls. We did that all day long, Susan, Mimi, and I. And I still have some somewhere.
What, the fashion dolls?
Yeah. Yep. It was so fun. And
it was the best of times.
It was the best of times. And we love the Beatles. Oh my God, we love the Beatles. We read it in a magazine that Paul's favorite color was blue. So when we played croquet on the front lawn, my front lawn was the only one that was flat. So we played it there at my house. We would fight over the blue mallet because of Paul McCartney.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you want that out?
What is it?
No. It's a drive.
What's on it, I wonder?
Yeah, I wonder too. Okay, so at this point you're still 7 or 8?
Yeah, 8, 9, 10. I was in 8th grade.
Oh wait, so when did you move to Maryland?
Well, in 1960, let me think, 4.
Right, so Pops
lost his job in New York, or wherever, at Carefod or wherever it was. And he got a job
in
Bethesda.
So like this is some kind of like military contracting, like
engineer
shit.
Yeah.
Nikes. Sorry.
He worked in a building that was at the top of Wisconsin Avenue, right at the end of Bethesda, as it's going down the road into D.C. or Georgetown. Geonautics. He worked at Geonautics, and turns out the lady that was the secretary there was married to his first cousin.
No way.
Yeah. And she wasn't real friendly to him.
But she was...
I talked to his wife. I talked to to the cousin years later when we lived here at this house. And I called him and I said,
you were mean to me.
No, I said, I think my dad worked with your wife. And she's from Kitzmiller, Beulah.
No way.
The mother. And she...
What a small world.
Yeah, it was very weird. I had no idea about the Maryland connections then.
So you didn't really have any connections to Maryland, but you started to build connections to Maryland.
Right. We discovered them.
It's weird to think that you were New Jersey people.
I know. New Yorkie, New Jersey. because my dad was born in Manhattan at the Women's Hospital in 1920 in a blizzard on February 8th.
Just like Lucy, born in Manhattan.
Right. And that hospital doesn't exist anymore, but it was right close to the hospital where Lucy was born.
Oh my God.
I know.
Schlegel sleigh.
Yep. They lived on Park Avenue, I think.
0 items in CC's flash drive.
Okay, goodbye. Does it work? Does
Yeah,
it?
yeah. You don't need to throw it away. This is a, it's just an interesting thing to. Oh wait, where's that? Oh, never mind. Don't worry about it. I can't find your iPad.
I know. We looked at a video on it yesterday.
Okay, so that means it's around then.
Right.
All right. So then, how long?
What is this here? What's this happening? What's this thing being recorded for research purposes?
Yeah, we're recording these stories.
You and Lucy are?
No, me and you are.
Oh.
Okay, so then you're 7, 8, 9 in
In New Jersey.
in.
I moved. See, in 1964, I was 12. My grandmother died. My New York grandmother died when I was 11. Yeah, because. She was going to come and live with us in the little room. We had a little room downstairs next to the laundry room, and there was a bathroom off the laundry room. It would have been perfect. And they started moving her furniture in there from her apartment in Bronxville.
Okay.
And
she died?
yeah, she went in the hospital. Apparently she had stomach cancer.
Yeesh.
And she died like 2 weeks before she was supposed to move in. And that was sad. I don't think she liked my mother very much. And I'm not sure my mother liked her very much.
Yeah, but they were going to make it work.
Yeah, they were going to make it work. And next thing I know, I'm over at Mimi's house, Johnny, and I'm in Johnny's bedroom, and I said, "Oh, that bed and that dresser, is that new? Did Johnny get a new dresser?" And they said, and Mimi said, "Yeah, your parents gave it to us. They were painted white."
But
And
it's like grandma's
It
shit.
was grandma's furniture.
Yeah.
And I loved them. They were old. They were antique. And I had bunk beds and they were on the ground. They were side by side, so I could have a girlfriend spend the night. And they were maple, and they were new, and I didn't care about them. I loved that furniture, and I was like, why didn't they offer this stuff to me? The reason they didn't offer it to me, and I knew that right away, was because my mother didn't like it. It was old.
Yeah. So she
gave them to the neighbors.
She purged it.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
Mimi. Oh, Mimi.
Oh, Mimi. Right.
Oh, Mimi.
And then at that moment, I knew the difference between my mom and me. I wonder if that speaker works. I've never used it.
Yeah, we should try it out here. That was the moment you knew the difference between you and your mom?
Yeah.
Was that she didn't like antiques and you did?
Yeah.
But isn't it funny how, like, as time, inevitably passes, like, the shit that she was into is an antique now, you know?
Right. That's true. Mid-century. Yeah. Oh, that's mid-century. It's popular. Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so take me into...
So we moved.
Yeah, you moved. Okay.
My father moved down to D.C. so he could be close to geonautics, and he lived on DuPont Circle in a rooming house. And there
Oh, he
were
wasn't
drug
with you.
dealers out there and homeless people.
Sick, dude.
And
Sounds
my
fun.
father was out of his element. Yeah, especially the drug dealers and all the bebop, like the
Yeah.
the 50s.
Ted learns to party. I've seen this episode before. Okay.
You've seen this episode.
Well, that's weird. Do you think that there was... That's weird, right? Like that Dad moves.
Mm-hmm.
And how long is Dad living not with you?
4 months.
4
And
months.
yeah, and his roommate from college, when he was in college, He went to Stevens Institute of Technology in Hoboken. He had a
Okay.
roommate named Fred Kurz. Fred and his family lived in Potomac, Maryland. And so he hung out with them. He went out to Potomac, and they were telling my parents, "Oh, we can tell you some good places where you can build a house. You can buy property." And so he had this idea, and he went to Fox Hills where they were selling plots of land,
Okay.
and they had brochures, which I still have. I want to show my brother, with all the model houses you could choose
Ah, okay.
and
Yeah.
all the features you could get. And they decided on, he brought this home, and he and my mom, they talked about it. They liked the backyard because it had a lot of trees, and they chose this model called a Nantucket, which was L-shaped. So you went up a little porch. It was a little covered porch, and the front door was right at the L, at the bend in the L. And they chose all the features that they wanted. And then I remember when we moved, the moving van came, loaded up the van, and we had 2 goldfish. My mom said, I don't think we should take the goldfish. They won't make it, because we had a station wagon, a big red station wagon, and no, they didn't have air conditioning in cars back then,
Oh yeah. Okay.
or we couldn't afford it, and so we drove, the 5 hours or 6 hours down to Potomac from New Jersey, and I said, no, we have to take the fish, we had the big, the tank with all the water, slosh, 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 for 6 hours. And they got there, and we might have changed the water too quickly, like put the local water in.
Yeah.
They turned purple.
Wait, what?
The orange goldfish turned purple.
Oh, and died.
Well, we thought, my mother said, oh, they're going to die, oh my God.
Okay.
And slowly but surely, 2 days later, the purple started to fade, and the orange came back, and they lived for another year.
Serious brain damage, though.
Yeah, but like it was probably because the water in Potomac was fluorinated. There was probably a well in New Jersey that was much healthier than the fluorinated water. Those are old. And our goldfish lived.
Our goldfish lived.
They lived. Yes,
Like
they
severe brain damage. Like I'd like to watch that episode of like Finding Dory, and they're like, "Derp," because you like brain deaded them for.
lived. Right.
This is the iPhone 4 OtterBox, and it's ripped
Yeah.
up. I think this is going in the garbage. Cool, bro. All right, so
And then we moved in, and the first morning when I opened up the door.
house. Sorry, the house was one of the ones that they picked all the features from.
Right.
So it's just like the cookie cutter, and they just bought.
Right,
okay.
right.
I get it. Go ahead now. Tell me the story. I'm listening. I have to go upstairs. Just keep talking.
I opened the front door. We had turquoise shutters. I opened the front door, and this blast of hot, humid air hit me. And I said, "Oh, Mom, Marilyn smells." She said, "What do you mean it smells?" I said, "It smells like dead dogs." And because it was humid, and much more humid than New Jersey, and also all the construction, it should have smelled good because there was a lot of lumber smells, like wood smells and plaster smells, and because they were building houses everywhere. We were one of the first 11 houses in this development, and it turned out there were 700 houses in our development in Fox Hills, and it should have smelled good, but it hit me like, ugh. It was like this hot, humid air. Anyway, I got used to it, and my girlfriend Susan and Mimi came down to visit me, and Johnny did too, and so does Martine, and they came down and visited. And then I started going to junior high school there. I went to 8th grade. And you know, I transferred my love for Paul McCartney to James Taylor.